Welcome to Test Drive, brought to you by Sport Car USA, a handy cars company. I'm your host, Lee Bodette.
I think I mentioned how it kind of set me back in my seat. And this will do it too, just like this. I think I just scared our camera guy.
In today's episode, we'll be checking out the 1994 Dodge Viper SRT10. This car still has a cult following, and for a very good reason. The Viper crammed a giant engine in a car not much bigger than a Miata.
And here it is, the Dodge Viper.
The Dodge Viper is one of the most iconic sports cars ever made. From being just a concept in the late 80s to its numerous revivals, the Viper remains an icon. The 94 Dodge Viper is a two-seat sports car with a massive engine and not much else. This is by all means a driver's car. The frame of the 94 Viper has a massive 8-liter V10 engine, and it produces 400 horsepower and 465 pounds of torque. By today's standards, that might not seem like a whole lot, but it also didn't have any safety features. The Dodge Viper had no power locks, no exterior door handles, no roof or windows, no airbags, and believe it or not, no traction control or ABS. Air conditioning? Why, it wasn't even an option until 1994. Hard to believe. Dodge decided to make this beast of a vehicle in the early 90s as a way to try and save Chrysler. Chrysler was in a lot of financial trouble and was operating in the red. They saw the Viper as a chance to try and pull them from the depths. There was a Chrysler executive, his name was Bob Lutz.
Come here, Bob Lutz. We don't want to over-dramatize this. There's the gear shift. Go build the damn thing, will you?
We will.
He wanted a two-seat sports car that would be along the lines of a Jaguar E-Type and Shelby Cobra.
And if the design takes you back to some of the classic roadsters of the past, well, that was the idea in the first place.
So he met with Tom Gale to give free rein over the project.
Upon graduation from Michigan State University, he joined the Chrysler Corporation. He has held many positions in design at Chrysler, eventually becoming Executive Vice President for Design and Product Development.
The Dodge Viper took a lot of its inspiration of only adding something if it makes it faster from the Shelby Cobra. As a result of this and these parameters, Carroll Shelby, you know that name, he was actually a consultant on Team Viper. The first prototype was built in 1989, and it was built for the North American International Auto Show. Now, this was an instant success after being shown there, and Dodge limited production to just 285 Vipers total in 1992.
And as far as volume, we're going to start slow with the first build is 200. We'll start with 200. We hope to get to 5,000 a year. I guess we could get to 7, Bob, 8 with a grunt.
Chrysler, at the time, also was the owner of Lamborghini with other powerful sport cars like the Diablo. Back in 1994, Chrysler sold to an investment group, but the idea for the massive V10 engine was influenced by Lamborghini. Team Viper used some of its same members from Lamborghini to construct the Dodge Viper. Tom Gale, who we mentioned before, had full reign to do what he wanted with the project. He was responsible for the exterior design of both the Diablo and the Viper.
We'll let our Lamborghini operation cast the all-aluminum engine. But this car was conceived and designed and engineered right here in America, and it will be built right here in America. In fact, what you're looking at even before production starts, I think, is an American classic. We've already had over 3,300 people write in, call in, and send money.
The Dodge Viper engine block was converted from their iron block V10 that was originally for Dodge trucks, and it was adapted into a lighter aluminum block for their new sports car. Dodge took great pride in the car being hand-built in the US of A. In 1996, Dodge released the Viper GTS. We saw a few new features pop up on this Viper, like exterior door handles, standard air conditioning, windows, and an actual roof. The roof had a very special design, and it was called the double bubble roof. Can't forget that. This roof design gave the driver and passenger more headroom if they were wearing helmets. This was the first generation of Viper that was made in a coupe. The GTS also boasted an additional 50 horsepower. Although it may look similar in design to the original, the GTS only shares about 10% original parts. Now, the new design was much more aerodynamic and less of a death trap when cornering, which is a good thing. The GTS also added the first full-length exhaust and no longer had the signature side exit exhaust of its predecessor. Fast forward a few years to 1999, where Dodge released the Viper ACR. ACR stands for American Club Racer, and a race car is what it was. The ACR had BBS wheels, upgraded suspension, and included 5-point racing harnesses. The ACR had a 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds and 180 miles per hour top speed. Dodge partnered with a racing team to develop the Viper into a real race car in 1999 and to further develop the GT-SR. Over a 2-year span, the GT-SR won 16 out of 18 races it was in and became a dominant force on the track.
The balance. When fireworks lit up the chilly October night to signal the end of the race, 9 months of hard work paid off. A third-place finish by the number 91 Dodge Viper SRT GT-SR in the GT Le Mans category delivered a driver championship for Kuno Whitmer and a team championship for the Viper in the two-door United Sports Car Championship.
2003 was one of the first major facelifts for the Viper. The headlights became more aggressive and the body style a little bulkier. It also added an additional 50 horsepower to now be at 500 horsepower. The 2003 to 2005 Viper was now only available in a convertible. The 06 model returned the GTS coupe with a hardtop, but unfortunately, in 2007, the Viper was out of production again because Chrysler was once again in financial trouble. But wait, back in 2008, the Dodge Viper was relaunched. The Viper was back and had an all-new look. It had a new grille and headlights, and now pushed out 600 horsepower. Fiat bought Chrysler in 2009, and in July of 2009, Chrysler announced the end of the Viper production once again. The Viper wouldn't go away that easy though. It would return once again in 2013 with the Phase 15 Viper. It had an all-new face and had 40 more horsepower than the previous model, now putting it at 640.
So we upped the horsepower by 40 horsepower, even though the engine's lighter and more efficient. We have composite intake manifold, which flows a lot better. Total 640 horsepower. But everybody who's driven a Viper knows it's all about torque. So the torque is up considerably, another 40 pounds. But look at the curve, how early the torque comes on. So this car makes more torque at idle than most cars make at full RPM. And the Viper is now the highest torque output vehicle of any naturally aspirated engine in the world. This thing is a torque monster.
They released an exclusive orange option for this generation Viper. The ACR also made its return, and it was a track monster. It produced over 1,700 pounds of downforce and became the 6th fastest production car in racing.
We're going to bring back a legend. We're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to bring back the next generation Viper ACR. This is the fastest street legal Viper track car that we have ever built.
As you may know, the Viper would die once again. Dodge celebrated their 25th anniversary and final year of the Viper production with 6 serialized special edition models. They made the Viper 128 Edition ACR, Viper GTSR Commemorative Edition ACR, Viper Snakeskin Edition GTC, Viper Snakeskin Edition ACR, Viper Voodoo 2 Edition ACR, and finally, the Viper Dodge Dealer Edition ACR. Wow. The final Viper rolled off the line on August 16th, 2017 in the same red color that the original came in 25 years prior. With the Viper being revived so many times, maybe there's hope that it will someday return again. If I'm a betting man, I think it will. I can remember back in 1994, I visited my first Dodge dealer, and they were fortunate enough to have a 94 Viper RT10, just like this one, on the showroom floor. It was for sale, but it wasn't available until the end of the summer, and many people would look at that Dodge Viper in awe and wish they could have it. I know I certainly was one of those people. Not every Dodge dealer was able to obtain a Viper, but mine had one all cordoned off so nobody could get too close to it. I can remember seeing the sticker price again. Remember now, this is 1994. It was somewhere around $57,000, and I'm here like, oh my goodness, who can afford this Dodge Viper? Now you look at today's car prices, $57,000 sounds like a real bargain in today's world. Kind of funny how things change like that, isn't it? It was something like I had never seen before back in 1992 when it first came out. But this was the 3rd year of production of the Dodge Viper, and it looked as good as the first year. This 94 Viper has the side exit exhaust, that's what they called it. And when you're really driving this car, that baby would get really hot. So you'd have to be really careful getting in and out so you didn't burn your legs. The 94 Viper that Sport Car USA has managed to have the additional air conditioning. Now that was an option and not available in 92 and 93. If you're a tall person like me, this is probably not the car for you. When I got in this car, my eyes were staring at the top of the windshield and my knees were just crammed right in there. Now you gotta remember, in 1994-ish, Chrysler and Dodge, their fit and finish wasn't real great. The plastic is not that nice and the fit and finish just isn't there. But this car wasn't made for comfort.
0 to 60, 5.2 seconds. A quarter mile, 13.6 seconds at 107 miles per hour. We were somewhat underwhelmed by the wheezing exhaust note, but the speed was certainly there.
The early Dodge Vipers were a very raw driving experience. They basically just strapped a giant V10 Lambo engine to a chassis, and they called it a day. Dodge didn't want any unnecessary features, and that of course included windows of all things. They would give you these small plastic windows that you could insert, and the only way to open up those plastic windows was with a zipper. So Dodge clearly didn't care about security. But you didn't have to worry. Dodge made sure to add a very crucial safety feature. The Viper has a beautiful 2-tone horn to get people out of the way when you're going 180 miles per hour. Dodge made sure their important dials were up front and driver facing so you could see all of your important information. This Viper has a 6-speed manual transmission, but to be honest with you, it can be a bit clunky.
The Viper's 6-speed Borg-Warner gearbox requires a firm hand, but rewards the driver with crisp, positive shifts.
But the most important thing about this Dodge Viper that I love is that it was made in the USA. And as far as I'm concerned, anything made in the USA, you're going to get my vote. I would say that this 1994 Dodge Viper checked out rather nicely. We hope you learned something about the Viper and what makes it such an icon in the sports car world. On Test Drive, you get to see many modern muscle cars, and believe it or not, most of them are for sale. All you have to do is go to sportcarusa.com and check out their entire inventory. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Test Drive.